Here, preacher at large, teaching the word, inspiring, 5 minutes at a time. Hey, I'm in a study on Ephesians. In Ephesians 1 through 14 is the next session coming up. I'm going to give you a little tidbit from it. A lot of things going on in the world still, but our trust is in Christ. Our trust is not in who's governing the nation. Our trust is in Christ. Our trust is not in our job. Our trust is in Christ who provides the job. Our trust is not in money. Our trust is in God who supplies all the money. We got to get our perspectives right. And so when we're getting down and things just don't seem to be going your way, and especially as this culture comes against the church and comes against Christian and becomes more and more anti-Christian, and we're going to see a lot more of that coming up in the next few years. Here's what I need you to remember, especially during those times. Ephesians 1 through 14. Here is everything that Christ says you are. Now, 12 times Paul reiterates in Christ in some variant. In Christ Jesus, in Him, in the Beloved. 12 times in 14 verses, he repeats in Christ. Now, normally when we hear something repeated 2 or 3 times, we need to take note because he's trying to make a point. But 12 times in 14 verses, I don't know of any other place in the Bible yet. I haven't searched it all out for this particular thing. But there's probably not another place that repeats itself 12 times in 14 verses. So let's just be clear that Paul wants us to understand what we have in Christ. And let me just give you a glimpse and remind you so that when times get tough or you're feeling down or life throws you a curve, let me remind you, and this is in Ephesians 1 through 14, you are blessed with every spiritual blessing. You are adopted. You are accepted. You have redemption. You know His will. You have an inheritance. You're predestined. You have salvation. And you are sealed. All of these things because you're in Christ. Think of just the first one. Blessed with every spiritual blessing in Christ. You're adopted in Christ. You're accepted in Christ. You're redeemed in Christ. You know His will in Christ. You have an inheritance in Christ. You are predestined in Christ. You have salvation in Christ. And you are sealed in Christ. Man, Paul's making a great point here, folks. So let's just remember that as life throws curveballs at us, as this culture becomes more anti-Christian, look to God, and you will make it in Christ. Now get your face in the Bible.